friends, today we're talking about subtracting mixed numbers. Please make sure that you title your video notes with that title. Okay, also please make sure that you try any of the problems that I cue you to, because remember, practice makes you better at things. So, here we go. If I have common denominators like 12 and 12, 11 twelfths, 6 twelfths, I'm good to go already. I have common denominators, so just like with addition, I can just go ahead and subtract. So 11 minus 6 is 5. And if I look at this, 5 twelfths don't have anything in common with one another. 5 and 12 don't have any numbers that I can divide them both by. So it's simplified. 9 twelfths minus 1 twelfth. Again, they have common denominators, so I keep the common denominator and I just subtract. 9 minus 1 is 8. In this case, 8 and 12 both can be divided by 4. So if I divide 8 by 4, I get 2, and if I divide 12 by 4, I get 3. So my final product is 2/3. Let's look at some more. What do I do if they don't have the same denominators? So that's one step that we have to deal with. And then also here, we've got these coefficients, these whole numbers that are outside. They're really not coefficients, but whatever. They're outside the fraction. So 7 minus 1 is 6. Now we have the 2/3 and the 1/4 to deal with. We've got to subtract these. So we need common denominators. What multiple do 3 and 4 share that they're both able to have as common denominators? It would be 12. 3 times 4 is 12, and 4 times 3 is 12. So 3 times 4 is 12, so 2 times 4 is 8. And 4 times 3 is 12, so 1 times 3 is 3. Do you see how I did that? I made sure that I multiplied whatever I multiplied by the denominator, I also multiplied the numerator by. In this case, it was 3 over 3, and over here in this case, it was 4 over 4. So now I have 8 twelfths minus 3 twelfths, which leaves me with 5 twelfths. And it's already simplified, so I can bubble it in. All right, over here I've got a 5 and a 4 as my whole numbers. So 5 minus 4 is 1. When I look at this, I've got 2/3 minus 1/2. So if I take 2/3 minus 1/2, I know that they don't have common denominators, but they could. They both share a 6 in common, okay? Because 3 times 2 is 6, 2 times 2 is 4. And because 2 times 3 gives me 6, 1 times 3 gives me 3, I can subtract 4/6 minus 3/6 and get 1/6. And again, those are simplified. What do I do though? Oh, excuse me. I want you to try these on your own. So go ahead and pause the video, okay? So take a second or two and think about what we just went over on those two examples. Go ahead and look at them even. All right, pause the video and I'm going to go through it in just a second. Okay, if you were stuck, remember, you're going to break it down. Whole number first, fraction second. Okay, go ahead and try that step. So 8 minus 3 is 5, and 1/2 minus 1/3. We can change these into 6's as their denominator. And this would be 3/6, and this would be 2/6. How did I get that? Because 2 times 3 is 6, 1 times 3 is 3, and because 3 times 2 gives me 6, 1 times 2 gives me 2, and I subtract and I get 1/6. So my answer is 5 and 1/6. Over here, you're going to take 5 minus 4 first, and then 1/3 minus 1/4. So 5 minus 4 is 1, and if we do this one, 1/3 and 1/4 don't have common denominators, but they both share a 12 in common. So we can take 1/3 and make that into 4 twelfths, because 3 times 4 is 12, and 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 3 gives me 12, so 1 times 3 gives me 3. I subtract and I'm left with 1/12. So that's my answer. Make sure that you checked your work with a red pen because it's important to make sure that you notice your mistakes and learn from them. Okay, these are a little bit more complex because now we have to borrow. Okay, the steps that I like to take are still the same. I like to look at these from a more vertical perspective though. So 6 3/4 minus 2 8/10. This is just my preference. It's up to you how you like to look at them. So 4 and 10, what do they share in common? A 20. Because if we looked at the multiples of 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, we notice that that would be in common with 10. Okay, so 10 times 2, 8 times 2, that would be 16. 4 times 5 gives me 20, so 3 times 5 gives me 15. Okay, herein lies the problem. 15/20, I can't subtract 16 from it. So in this case, it's not as helpful to subtract the whole numbers right away because in this case I have to borrow. I have to change this 6 into a 5 and 20/20. Where do I get that 20? Because it's like having a whole. If a 6 it would be the same as 5 and 20/20. So really what now I can do is say, okay, this is 20/20, this is 15/20, which means it's really 35/20, which gives you 19/20. And then I can take 5 minus 2 and I get 3. So my answer is 3 19/20. Okay, for the next one, notice that I don't even have a fraction over here. So 13 minus 5 5/6. Okay, I have to borrow from the 13. Really, I'm taking away from him. And I'm just regrouping. Okay, so when I regroup, I'm thinking of this 13 as being a 12 with 6/6. So 12 and 6/6 is the same thing as 13. So now I can take 12 minus 5 and get 7, and take 6 minus 5 and get 1, and the denominator remains 6. So I have 7 and 1/6. Okay, I'm going to leave you to try these two. Go ahead and pause the video. Remember to try and think about it from a regrouping standpoint. If you end up having something that you can't subtract, you need to regroup. Okay, I'll be back in just a second to show you the answers. Okay, please check your work with some sort of a pen or something so that way you know what your mistakes were. Okay, I'm going to do this one in red. 9 1/3 minus 3 4/5. Okay, 3 has the common multiples of 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, and can go on and on and on. 5 is kind of easy for us because it's just multiples of 5. So 5, 10, 15. We notice that they have a 15 in common. I'm going to use that as my denominator. So I know 3 times 5 is 15, so 1 times 5 is 5. I know, again, 3 times 5 is 15, so 3 times 4 would give me 12. I can't subtract, so I'm going to regroup this 9 into an 8 and 15/15. So really what I have here is not 15 but 20. Okay, so now I can subtract. 20 minus 12 is 8, and I get 8/15, and 8 minus 3 is 5. And notice that I can't simplify the 8/15, so I'm finished. Over here I have 8 minus 3 3/4, and since he doesn't have any fractions, we're going to regroup him into a 7 4/4. So we can subtract 7 minus 3 and get 4, and 4/4 minus 3/4, I'm left with only 1/4. And that's all I have for you today. I'll see you next time.